So judging by my analytics, you guys are really liking the videos where I compare a couple of insurance roles, and I want to do that again for you today.
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad that they don't salute you.
Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, my name is Keela Treshawn, and I make videos on lifestyle, womanhood, and mental health. I also do videos, well, vlogs actually, day in the life in the insurance industry, day in the life with a toddler, all the things. So if that's something that interests you, go on ahead and click that subscribe button below, and be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back, and thank you for your support. Okay, so as I prefaced, I did want to do another video where I compare different insurance roles. I know a lot of you guys are really interested in just kind of getting into that industry. And if you don't work in insurance, then you probably don't know what a lot of those roles entail. So today I'm going to be comparing 3 auto roles. I'm going to be talking about the liability adjuster role, the material damage adjuster role, which is a field position, and I'm going to be talking about the total loss adjuster role. So if you are interested in getting into that industry, if you're interested in kind of getting on the auto side, definitely go on ahead and stay tuned. Okay, so the first role that I'm going to talk about is the liability adjuster role. So if you watch my insurance videos and just kind of watch the videos that I do on different roles, you've probably heard me talk about this particular position before. This is probably going to be your most entry-level role into insurance, and typically it's where a lot of people start when they start their career in that field. So the liability adjuster usually is the one that is kind of in charge of the whole claim. So they get the new file, they're responsible for getting the information, so getting the details on what happened in the accident. They do investigation to determine who's at fault. They reach out to the other insurance company if the other party's at fault. They take care of everything. They also set up the inspection for the vehicle. So typically, in order to determine what the damage is and to determine if the vehicle is salvageable, they need to send out a adjuster to go and take a look at those damages. So basically, this role is typically a desk role. So it's something that you can do in an office, but they do have a lot of at-home roles right now that they're being offered. So if that's something that concerns you, you are able to work from home in this position depending on the company, but you're basically responsible for the whole claim. So depending on the outcome of everything, you might push it off to another department eventually, but typically you're going to be the one in charge. So the reason why this role is so important is because it teaches you how to do the investigation before you jump off into the specialty roles. So I get a lot of questions about like if you can just start doing underwriting or if you can just start in like a field role. And in some cases you can start in other roles as a trainee, but a lot of times most companies want you to start in this role because although it is a lot of work, it's usually the role that's going to teach you the most as far as how to structure your claim, how to note your file, how to do the investigation. This is kind of like it's like the meat of the claim, if you will. Like this person is typically responsible for everything. And in some cases, the other departments have to reach out to this adjuster to make sure that they have all their ducks in a row so they can actually do their job. So even though it's an entry-level role, you really grow into it. You can end up making a lot of money if you stick with it, or even go into other different departments. But this role you need to be able to do in order to branch out into the other roles. So if you choose to go into this type of insurance role, you can expect to have a heavy load, and you can expect to do a lot of talking to customers, a lot of talking to vendors, and even people in other departments, because you are very important. Like they have to reach out to you to make sure that they have enough information to do their part of the claim. Okay, so the next role that I wanted to discuss is going to be the material damage adjuster role. So this is also known as a field auto adjuster role. Basically what this person is going to do is go out and take a look at the damages that were caused by a vehicle accident. So this person is actually going to be the one that's writing the estimate for repairs. So their job is very important too, because they're essentially determining if this vehicle is repairable, or if it is not repairable, then it becomes a total loss, which I'll talk about in the next segment. Basically what they do a lot of times is they'll meet on site with the customer and the body shop. If the vehicle has not been taken to a body shop yet, then sometimes they will meet the customer at their home or their work or wherever they have the vehicle stored at. You do have to have some technical experience, obviously, for this role. You need to kind of know like the general parts of a vehicle. You need to know how to build back a car, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to put together an estimate. Now, you do learn about the vehicle parts in the liability adjuster role because you have to be able to take notes. But in order to do the material damage role, there's usually going to be more specified training. Now, if you're doing this through a company, if you're doing this through like an insurance company, they're going to offer you that training. So usually it's going to be like a training that you go to for typically like 4 to 6 weeks, where you go and actually learn the different parts of the vehicle. You learn how to build it back. They may have you do ride-alongs and shadows with people that are already doing the job, so you can kind of understand how to put everything together. They'll teach you how to use the software that you're going to use to put together the estimate, and then you just go from there. In all of these roles, you do have the support of your training staff, your management, and all that stuff. So it's important that you know that you're not alone. You do have the support of these people. Some companies are better than others, but in this role, you are going to be responsible for determining basically if this car can be salvageable. So typically you're gonna get like several claims per week that you have to work on. And I know I work in homeowners now. I've never actually done the material damage position, but obviously I've worked with a lot of those employees. And I know for the field adjuster position that I'm in homeowners, we have to write the estimate on site. I'm pretty sure it's probably the same for the material damage adjuster, because you wanna write the estimate while you're fresh, like while you're actually looking at the damage, because if you leave and start working on something else, you could start mixing up your damage. So a lot of times this role is going to require you to take photo evidence, because you have to kind of paint a picture in the file of what exactly is going on with this vehicle. If something is not repairable, then you have to kind of explain why and, you know, show photo evidence. So it is a lot of investigation, but it's a lot of technical know-how. So this is a job, like if you do not want to work in an office, like if you want to kind of be based from home but still have the ability to go out into the field, this will probably be a good role for you. And typically this job will also offer you a company car. So usually the field positions will offer that to you. There is typically like a small fee that you have to pay like per check to have this vehicle, but in most cases you're able to use the car outside of work as well. So you do have to like report your mileage and all that stuff, but you can use it for personal use. There are a lot of people that give up their personal cars so they don't have to pay anything on it, and you just use your company vehicle. For me, I've had 2 company vehicles, and the first one I didn't drive a lot because it had the company's name all over it, so I felt like I was always on the clock. But the one I have now does not have the company's name blasted all over it, so I can drive it around and feel secure. But that's just kind of one of those perks. You're provided with your computer, you're provided with your cell phone, and just pretty much all the equipment that you would need to complete these inspections. So yeah, the material damage adjuster is usually called in once there's an accident, so they can kind of determine if the vehicle is actually repairable. If the vehicle is repairable based on the estimate, then the information will be sent back to the liability adjuster, and the liability adjuster will assist the customer throughout the rest of the claim as far as monitoring the repairs, and the material damage adjuster will move on to the next claim. If the vehicle is deemed a total loss, this does go back to the liability adjuster, and then the liability adjuster will then assign it to the total loss department. Okay, so the last role that I'm going to be discussing today is the total loss adjuster role. So this is actually how I got my start in insurance. I started directly in the total loss department. So for anybody that's wondering if you need to have experience to do the total loss adjuster role, this can also be an entry-level role, but it can also be like a more seasoned role. So typically with total loss, you're going to also have a total theft department as well. And usually they're going to want you to have some experience before you go into the total theft role, or like even like fire and stuff like that. So this is going to be one of those departments where once the vehicle is deemed a total loss, then the liability adjuster will put an activity in the queue for total loss, and then it's going to be assigned to an adjuster. So to kind of walk you through what the total loss adjuster does. Now, by the time the claim comes over to the total loss adjuster, the customer should have been informed that the vehicle is a total loss, but that doesn't always happen, just depending on how busy it is with the other departments, or just how efficient somebody is at their job, if we're just going to be honest. I have seen in some cases, and this is not to bash anybody, but it's just kind of like a reality, but I have seen in some cases where the customer does not know that the vehicle is a total loss, and the first time that they're hearing it is when the total loss adjuster calls them. So that's kind of one of those things. But anywho, what the adjuster is going to do typically before they even call the customer is look through the file to see what type of vehicle it is, to see the photos. They're going to look through the reports. So usually there's going to be a market valuation report, which just kind of says what the market value of this vehicle is. One of the things that you're going to want to do as a total loss adjuster is make sure that that report has all of the selected options for that car. So just for example, if we have a Dodge Challenger, like a regular Dodge Challenger, and then the more premium version of the Dodge Challenger. You want to make sure that if the person has a premium, they have all of these selected, I guess, upgrades, I should say. So a lot of times you can tell that from the photo, and the market valuation company will kind of give you a list of things to check off. If you do have any questions or any type of concerns, you can always reach out to the customer to ask them for the build sheet of their vehicle. This is usually something that they get once, like when they purchase the car. It's something that's included in their paperwork, or they can kind of just tell you like what different options were on the car if it's something that the insurance company missed. But basically what your job is to provide them with their settlement. You go over that settlement with them, and you basically try to close that portion of the claim. So with this, you're going to have customers, one, you're going to be working with insureds that actually have a policy with the insurance company, but you're also going to be working with claimants. So claimants are going to be your customers that got into an accident with one of our insureds, and so now we are responsible for their damages. So you're going to learn about like policy limits, like liability policy limits. I kind of talked about this in another video. I will try to link it here somewhere, but basically you're going to go through those limits with the person, make sure that they understand if you don't have enough to pay off their vehicle in full if it's a claimant. Even sometimes with an insured, the issue that you might run into there is they might have a loan still outstanding on the car, and that market value of the vehicle might not be enough to pay off their car. So you want to kind of guide them on how to navigate their gap coverage, how to get documents that they need to, enhance the value of the vehicle, things like that. So this role really it's simple in nature, but it can get kind of tricky when you're dealing with, let's say somebody passed away and they don't know where the title is, things like that. So you'll have a department where they'll assist you on kind of just like what you need from the DMV in order to get that money to that person. So this role can be very fast paced. I can say that I've had situations where I've gotten 4 to 5 claims a day. I've had situations where I've gotten 12 claims in a day. So it can be very, very busy, and also depending on what's going on. So like when you look at the weather reports, like if you're in a situation where there was an earthquake or there was like some type of major storm, usually this wouldn't be something that happened in California, but maybe like another state. If you have a lot of damaged vehicles that are not salvageable, that could kind of overwhelm the total loss department. So yeah, this is one of those jobs where if you don't want to do like all of the upfront investigation and you want something that is a little more straightforward, total loss can be good for you. But you also have to be very good at negotiating, and you have to be willing to have tough conversations. The reason why I say this is because sometimes people don't agree that their vehicle is a total loss. I've had people tell me their car is a classic when, it's up to interpretation. I've had people just simply think that, the insurance company isn't offering a fair amount, and a lot of people don't quite understand their policy. So you have to be prepared to kind of explain to them what the policy covers, what the policy doesn't cover. That's why I always stress like the whole deductible thing, because you get that a lot. People don't think they should have to pay their deductible if it's a total loss. Doesn't say that anywhere in the policy, but people think this. So you have to be kind of prepared for these arguments. It's one of those positions where you're probably going to get into a lot of arguments, but you just have to know what you're talking about and be able to articulate yourself. So I guess all in all, I don't want to say that this position is necessarily easier than the liability adjuster position, because I think they both have their challenges. But what I can say is the workload is a little more regulated in total loss, because whereas the liability adjuster is dealing with everything, you're only dealing with total loss, or in some cases total theft if you're working on that side. So I don't have too much information on the theft part because I never actually did that job, but I do know that usually that's a position that you would kind of graduate to, because they have to show you how to work with those thefts. So yeah, that is going to be your total loss position. All right, you guys, so that is all that I have for you today, just kind of on the liability adjuster role, the material damage adjuster role, and the total loss adjuster role. I think that you can be successful in any of the roles. I don't think that any one role is better. It just kind of depends on what your temperament is, whether or not you want to be dealing with customers day in and day out, and just like what your expertise is, like what interests you. For some people, they really do like the investigation and the fast-paced nature of the liability adjuster role. So if that's something that you want to do, and also if you're just starting out, that might be something that you want to consider. Not something that you have to stay in forever, but you might want to just get in there, because that'll kind of teach you everything you need to know about the structure of a claim, and then from there you can decide which department you want to go into. The material damage adjuster role, like I was saying before, it's a field adjuster role. For me, y'all know I'm really into field roles and then working from home. Like, I can't see myself working in an office, especially with everything that's going on in the world. And I've been working from home now going on like 5 years. So for me, those roles tend to work better because I have the option to be home. But you know, when I get the little cabin fever, I still have the freedom to go out actually into the field, you know, do my job and then get back to the house. So I tend to like those roles. And truth be told, I actually did enjoy my job as a total loss adjuster, especially once I knew what I was doing, once I knew like how to address concerns and stuff like that. I actually did really well, and I did enjoy working from home. But again, like I said, just for me, out of the three, I really enjoy like a field adjuster role. So I would say if you're looking to get into the industry, definitely just like look at each role, look at each company. Once you start interviewing, just make sure that you're, you know, asking questions. Make sure that you're asking them like what their workload looks like, what the culture's like, things like that. And also make sure that you're looking at sites like Indeed, Glassdoor, because that'll kind of give you an idea of like what to expect. Actual employees are going on here talking about, you know, what they experience at the company, because every job has its pros and cons. Each role can get really busy, but then you also have your slow points. It's kind of rare in insurance, but each job can have their slow points. So just figure out what you want your life to look like, what you want your 9 to 5 to look like, and make your decision from there. Also understand that whatever job you get into, you don't have to stay there. You might start out in one position and then see something else that's more appealing. And once you have the experience and there's an opening, you can go and apply for it. So really the sky's the limit. And I do think that, at least in my experience, insurance is kind of underrated. I know that I did not plan to go into insurance, but once I got there, I did see all the opportunity, and I've been able to kind of build my resume and build my income in this industry. So definitely something to check out. If you have any other questions about the roles, or if you have any other video ideas you want me to do, if there are any other roles that you guys want me to compare, be sure to leave it in the comments below. If you made it this far and have not subscribed, be sure to go on ahead and click that subscribe button, click notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And please don't forget to click that like button. That really helps me with the YouTube algorithm. With that being said, you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you next time.
I'm in the future. You mad? They don't salute you. I need a bag, size is super. They turned your bag, it's like